teaching Bishop. This is teaching Bishop Willie Dixon. We're glad to be coming to your home by CD or by the internet. We just want to talk to you for a few minutes, talk with you for a few minutes uh, about in the cool of the day. Our thought come from Genesis, uh, about the second chapter, and when God created man, He used to have a conversation with him in the cool of the day. Evidently, it must have been a little harder up in the day because it specified in the cool of the day when it was pleasant on man to be able to come and congregate with God and talk to Him. You said, well, what they talk about? God talked about His agenda. He talked about what He wanted man to do. He gave man specific instruction what to do and what not to do that will please Him, and He told him what would displease Him. God told man what would keep him in His favor and what would put him out of favor with Him. So in the cool of the day, they always had conversation. But when Adam and Eve ate from that tree, they were hiding in the cool of the day. They were nowhere to be found, and they favorite spot where they met God, where they conversate with God. They were nowhere to be found. And that's what we do when we fail God, when we fall out of favor with God, out of grace with God. We hide ourselves. We make ourselves unavailable to God, to hear what He has to say, to sit at His feet and learn of Him. And that's what Adam and Eve were doing in that garden in the cool of the day. They were sitting at His feet and learning of Him. I know some people would say, well, He didn't talk to the woman. He just only gave instruction to the man. And the man came back and told the woman what God said. But the Bible said He talked to them in the cool of the day. He gave both of them instruction what to do. He fellowship both of them. Not like we today exclude the woman from everything and make her put her on the tail end of everything and make her inferior. But the truth of the matter is, God made her a helpmate for Him. We can use the word any way we want it when we say helpmate or helpmeet or whatever. But a helper is someone that assists another one, that help another one get something accomplished, get something done. On my job, I have a helper. He or she is to help me to get my agenda done, to do what I need to do, to take some of the pressure off of me or some of the weight of responsibility off of me. That's what my helper do. So she was a helpmate for the man. It was not good for man to be alone, to be by himself. So God made him a partner. God made him somebody that was equal with him. I know we want to say where the woman was equal with him and so on and so forth. But actually the woman didn't become a servant unto the man until sin came. She didn't come in abundance to the man till sin came. The man didn't think he was no higher than a woman and look at her in a shameful way or belittle her until sin came. But my whole thing today is in the cool of the day. Before the heat comes, before the trouble comes, before our distress comes, before the mark of the beast comes, before we become overwhelmed with trouble, let's talk to God. Let's fellowship God. Let's make peace with God before we leave this earth. And let's please Him. See, God bless people that please Him. And God elevate people that that please Him and believe in Him and trust Him. In the midst of a troubled world, in the midst of a world that don't know God. When you get a person such as Abraham, Abraham believed God. That's why God used the seed of Abraham to bless the world. That's why the Hebrews or the Jews came through Abraham, faithful Abraham, because Abraham blessed God, believed God, trust God, and became the friend of God. And God was able to instruct Abraham, and Abraham pleased God. Abraham wasn't necessarily perfect, but he believed God. You and I are not perfect, but we believe God. We trust God that God will work things out for us on our job, in our home, in our marriage, in our church. Uh, Whatever we do, we believe that God gonna work things out. And anytime we think that we have it so bad, all you have to do now is turn on the internet, Google things. If you want to see how certain part of the world live, the condition that people living in, the thing that people have to go through, the daily struggle. But in the cool of the day, they had no struggle. In the cool of the day, they had peace and fellowship, and they waited for God's instruction, for God to come and talk with them and tell them what to do. That's what we should be now in our time. We should be waiting on the instruction of God, for God to tell us what to do, how to do things, and that keep us out of trouble. That keep us from a lot of heartache and a lot of problem that we wouldn't have if we'll take a little time out before trouble comes and talk to God. I know it's tradition for people now in this generation. When trouble comes, when a disaster comes, they want to talk to God. But how much better would that be to have peace with God before trouble comes? You don't want to wait when you need to borrow some money, or you need somebody to help you, or you need to buy a car, you need to buy a home. You don't want to wait till that time and then go try to make friends with the people that can help you. But you want to have good standing with them people before you need them, before a situation, if you will, come up, before a need come up. And hear what people say. Well, they didn't call me till they had a problem, till they wanted something. I hear from them on the phone when they want something. You can tell when somebody wants something. They call you all the time. They in your presence all the time. They at your house all the time. Couldn't they come before they want something? Couldn't they come just give me a casual visit and talk to me and see how I'm doing? I hate for somebody every time they see me, they want something from me, but they can't speak to you. You know how you have kinfolk, they grow up, and every time you see them, they got the hand out. But when they ain't got the hand out, they don't have time for you. And that's how God feel about me. Let us, before trouble come, before the devil riding you north, south, east, and west, and you don't have time to do nothing. You don't know which way to turn. Then you go to God. Don't that make God feel cheap? Don't that make God feel kind of bad a little bit? Uh, uh, your wife only want you when she wants something. People only want to be in your presence when they want something. But let's go in the cool of the day before trouble comes. Before you get a foreclosure note on your house. Before the repo man come to repo your car or repossess something you have. Let's have fellowship with God. Before a disaster come and blow away everything you got. And you say, I didn't know this could happen to me. I just didn't believe this could happen to us. My kid get on crack. My kid get in trouble. My kid kill somebody. Go on a killing spree. Well, let us do like Job did. Job offered sacrifice for his kids because he knew in your youth you do things without thinking. So he often will offer a sacrifice and will pray to God about his kids and seek God. You say, well, that didn't look like that did no good because all his kids died, but God replaces back everything in 100-fold. God got your back when you take time to talk to him. When you take time to fellowship God, When you take time to get to know God, good thing is in your future. When Adam and Eve had time for God, had time to hear his instruction, had time to fellowship him and to adore his presence, and God bless him. See, that's what we do now. That's what it's all about now. We say, well, give God a praise, he bless you. God bless you when you give a praise, and we dance our brains out trying to get a blessing from God. We get out, we shout, we holler, and we scream, and we backflip, because we say we're praising God. But what God really wants from us is for us to have time in the cool of the day for him, to fellowship him, to talk to him, to listen to him, to get instruction from him, and to be obedient to him. The good and the obedient shall eat the good and obedient will eat the good of the land. Those that are obedient to God, those that have time for God, those that make God they God, that put their confidence and their hope in God in an hour of peace, in an hour of rest. See, we're living in a world not of unrest. We're living in a world now everybody is too busy to consider God to a problem happen, to something come up. When something come up, people, you can't stop folk from coming to your house to fellowship you. If you live a decent life, if you live a godly life, if you trust God and you manifest God in your life, you don't have too many friends. You don't have too many people want to deal with you. When you always got something to say about what's going on, people don't want to deal with you. When somebody being mistreated and you said that's not what you should do. When you're taking advantage of somebody because they willing to help you, and then I say that's not what you should do. What would Christ do? What would God do? What did God tell us to do? And then people don't like that. People, well, the Bible said man loved darkness rather than light. Therefore, he would not come to the light, that his deed would be manifested. He won't come to God in the cool of the day, because God gonna talk to you and sit you down and say, look at him. You know that you married and you need to support your family. You know you got 3 or 4 kids, 4 or 5 kids. You need a job, and you need to put something back for your kid. The Bible says a godly man, a faithful man, a good man will leave an inheritance for his kids, will lay up for his kids. Paul said, look, y'all shouldn't be laying up for me and wonder how I'm going to make it. He said, I'm supposed to be laying up for you. I'm supposed to be going before God in the cool of the day and talking to God for you. I'm supposed to be bringing a petition before God that'll make my community well, that my community can be healed, that my community can be delivered, that my country, my nation, my people can be blessed. Abraham laid up that his people could be blessed. Abraham went before God, talked to God, fellowship God, gave himself to God, that his seed could be blessed. And Abraham went to God one time and said, look, God, you done blessed me. I got more than enough. I got blessings shaken down, pressed together, that men had came and given into my bosom. Even the Pharaoh of Egypt done give into my bosom. And I don't have an inheritance. I don't have a seed to share with. See, God cares about how you feel, what you're going through. You'll think, well, man, you got everything. You and your nephew Lot had to split up and divide the good because you were blessed so much. Now, why you worrying about an heir or anybody else? Just enjoy the good. But Abraham thought, Lord, what about my seed? Well, I don't have a seed, God. How you gonna bless me in the future? It's just gonna be the end of me. This is gonna be all of me. Me and you gonna have a relationship. That's gonna be it. And when I pass on, I have nobody that can know about the relationship we had. Know about the the covenant that you done made with me. So I need a seed. I don't want my servant that came from wherever he came from, another country, another land, that was down on his luck and needed some help. And I gave him a job, herding my sheep and my cattle. I gave him a place in my tent to rest his head. I don't want him to inherit everything I done accumulated with you, the blessing you gonna give me. I don't want a stranger from another land to have. I want a seed. And God said, Abraham, I will bless you with a seed from your loins, and I will bless every nation of the world through your seed. Well, when God tells us something in the cool of the day, when he bless us, when he give us a promise, it requires something. It requires patience. It requires that we stay faithful to God and that we wait on the promise of God. After a few years, he never did get a seed. And here why he come. Sometimes a woman have too many bright ideas. Eve did, and Sarah did. Women today do. You can be doing good. You can be waiting on God. You can be talking to God in the cool of the day. God can be giving you instructions. You can be naming everything in creation. And a woman come up with a bright idea. Look how good that fruit look. Oh, that fruit look like it ain't never been touched. That's a virgin fruit. Won't you go into that fruit? Won't you bite that fruit? Sarah said, Abraham, look at him. Pharaoh gave you a gift. And you know Pharaoh gave the best gift. So most likely she was a virgin. Why not you go into her and help God to fulfill his promise? See, it's been a minute. It's been a while. Maybe God needed a little help. Maybe God didn't realize this even open beauty that we have here could help us get a seed. And Abraham said, okay, all right. Well, you know, man, he probably was looking at the woman anyway, under his eyes. Kind of, when Sarah wasn't looking, he kind of took a double take at that pretty woman. So that wasn't no problem to Abraham. Look, I can get what I want and then help God. And he did it. And he got in trouble. To this day, the half brother fighting to the death because they thought they could help God to fulfill what God done promised. God is able to fulfill his promise without us helping him, without us putting sin in the equation. God is able to do what he said. So what we have to do is trust God when we come to God in the cool of the day. Well, the rest of the story is history. That after he went into his servant, his maid, to help God, she began to dislike Sarah. She felt like Sarah didn't have no womanhood, and she had womanhood because she could provide Abraham with a son to help fulfill the promise of God. You don't have to go to the devil to help God fulfill his promise. You don't have to begin to have program in your churches to get the young people in, to entice the young people. The anointing of God entice the young people. The anointing of God will entice the important people in your community, in your neighborhood. You don't have to go and get a social program from the government to show the people you're doing something for God, that you building a house, that you got a soup kitchen in your church. But you can believe God and believe the promise of God that God will provide for those that have faith in him and confidence in him, that God will meet the need. What we're doing today is trying to help God meet the need. Well, if we could have remedied the problem ourselves, God wouldn't have to show up in the first place. And hear what we say. God show up. When God show up, he'll show out. And God show up. Well, God show up to fulfill his promise, to make good on what he said. And God said he'll bless thee, and thy seed will be blessed, and all nations through you, Abraham, will be blessed. Well, God saying that's the same. God is saying the same thing today to the Christian. By you, through you, Christians, I will bless the people. I will heal the nation. If my people that is called by my name will humble themselves in prayer, will come in the cool of the day and talk to me, I heal the land. Lord knows, we know that the land is sick. We know that people have lost hope. We know people are like a bunch of answers wandering to and forth and not really knowing what to do. You say, well, the ants know what to do. They put up food in this. Well, unless God build a house, they that build a house build it in vain. Unless God watch the city, the watchmen stay woke in vain. We done built the city. We done come up with a solution. We done set up. We done establish churches that people can have a place to come to. But we forgot the cool of the day experience. We forgot who Adam was talking to in the cool of the day. We forgot that the blesser, the need meter, was talking to Adam. The one that had the solution was fellowshipping Adam. That's who we need to fellowship in our time, is Jesus. We need to go to him in faith and in prayer. They that come to God must first have faith, must first believe that God is a rewarder for those that diligently seek him, those that constantly fellowship him, those that stay in his presence, they that talk to him in the cool of the day, that have time for him before trouble comes. Oh, when a crisis arrives in this country, you would think this country is a bunch of Christians. When a disaster comes, when a superstorm comes, when a typhoon comes, when war break out, when this nation is financially in trouble, they go to God in prayer. They'll have a national day of prayer. They will have people everywhere. Can you get somebody to pray? Can we have a camp meeting? Can we have a meeting in the town square and get everybody together and let us talk to God? Well, would it not be better to come in the cool of the day before trouble comes, before a storm blow your house away, before you need aid from the government and the government can't help you because FEMA done came bankrupted, or the insurance company can't help you because the storm was too big and too many people lost their home at one time, and they begin to lie to the people and tell the people, well, you didn't have flood insurance. Well, what a flood was. The storm came in and blew water in your house and blow your house away, but it never did flood your land. So you didn't have flood insurance. Well, you done lost everything you had. You had people that been working for years and doing everything that they thought were right. They done provided for themselves. They got their 401k. They got their retirement pension. They got their CDs saved up in the bank. They got everything they supposed to have, but something happened that the bank can't cover it no more. The bank done failed. See, that's why we need God. That's why we need, before trouble comes, to spend some time with God. Because we're going to need God. We put God on a tail end and we make all this foolishness up because we think God wants your 10%, and your 10% going to ensure that you be blessed no matter what lifestyle you live. Long I give my 10%, God gonna bless me. Long I go to church every day, 7 days a week. I done seen people go to church 7 days a week with worse than people that didn't hardly even come in the church. Did things that people didn't even hardly come to church wouldn't do. Because they'll say, look, I know God. Well, hear the word they really use. I know the good Lord don't like that. I know the good Lord don't like ugly. I know the good Lord ain't pleased with me lying and taking. And I ain't going to do it. And they don't even hardly come to church. But the people that in church all the time prophesying and taking your money because they speaking a smooth word to you, they won't tell you to stand against sin. They won't tell you to take time in the cool of the day and fellowship God. They'll tell you become religious. Make long prayers in the city square. Turn your face to Jerusalem and pray all day. But they won't tell you to repent. They will not tell you to turn from your sin. They will not tell you to fellowship God. As long as Adam and Eve in the cool of the day fellowship God, they did no sin. They didn't lose their inheritance. See, we lose our inheritance when we turn from God. When we find us another level. When we get clever. You can tell folks when they too clever. You have a lot of ministers, and you'll wonder why they ain't prosper. And they doing everything. They in every program. They got the scoop on everything. And you wonder why they ain't prosper. They too clever. They manipulating their people. They taking from their people to build their wealth, to build their empire. But no, you can't preach on that. Let us not talk about that. You judge, sweep around your own front door. Well, when you fellowship God in the cool of the day, you done swept around your own door. When you fellowship God, when you trust God, when you look to God, when you look to Christ. See, there's a lot of controversy around Christ, around Christianity, around the right thing to do. Man, ain't no controversy about Christ. Great is the mystery of God without controversy. Christ was manifested in the flesh, seen an angel preached among men. Ain't no controversy about that. He was a Savior that left heaven, that came to man and gave himself. There's no controversy about that. All power in heaven and earth is in the hand of Christ. Ain't no controversy about that. Living right, being faithful to God. Ain't no controversy about that. Not eating from that tree. That wasn't no controversy. Don't eat from the tree. Don't partake of your lusts. Do not partake of your desire, your hidden desire, your wicked desire, your desire that you got to do in the dark. You got to bring them to pass in the dark with a partner that is sworn to secret. Well, there's something wrong with that. Wasn't nothing secret by in the cool of the day when they came in fellowship, when the sun probably was bright, and when they had sweet communion together. Wasn't nothing secret about that. Wasn't nothing secret about Christ dying openly on Calvary Hill, at Mount Calvary. Wasn't nothing secret about that. The Bible said be careful when people have secret prophecy. When they got to come to you under their breath and prophesy to you, and nobody know nothing about what they done prophesied to you, you be careful. Go to God in the cool of the day, and God will reveal to you what you need to do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how you should be, how you should act, how you shouldn't act, what you should do, how you should dress, how you shouldn't dress, what you should eat, what you should not eat. People say, well, what they got to do with anything? Well, if you don't eat right, you get certain problems. You become obesity. You have high blood pressure. You have all kind of problems. Your cholesterol goes sky high. Now we begin to understand this. Years ago, they used to tell me in the sanctified church, well, you ain't supposed to exercise. Care live for body exercise. Well, Paul didn't say don't care for it. He said care live for it. Otherwise, he said, now this is not really the main thing. It'll help you, and you should care for it. But this is not God. By you having a strong body and muscular body, that don't bring salvation. That's what he's really telling you. But your doctor now, when you past 40 years old, will tell you, walk, exercise a little bit, and don't eat as much of the bacon you used to eat. Don't do as much of this. Well, see, that's what Adam and them used to get when they went to God in the cool of the day. They got instruction how to live. God told them what to do to bring prosperity and bring blessing. When we come in the presence of God in the cool of the day, God teaches us how to be blessed. The Bible said God give wealth and he add no sorrow. All these people got all these things, they full of problems. Look at the Kardashian, look at the other big names, and they got all kind of problems. Look at the models of the world, and they have to become what you call them when you don't eat and you starve yourself, anorectomy, to hold on to the money, to look good, so American or the world can lust after you, and they can send money to you and pay you for your movie or your picture because they like how you look. But you die. You becoming skin and bone. But when we go to God in the cool of the day and we get a prescription from God, we don't have these problems. We don't have to worry about the devil sitting on you, sitting on your head. When Abraham listened to God, he had no problem. When Moses and the children of Israel, when they listened to God, they didn't have no problem. When Pharaoh did not listen to God, problem came up on Pharaoh. It's the same today. When we take ourselves from the cool of the day experience, we're gonna have problems. When we get what we think we have all the answers, and we don't need God no more. We didn't got blessed. See, here a bad thing about blessing, about prosperity, about money, by having means. Most of the time when people get means, well, they don't have to worry about their food from day to day, and they don't live from paycheck to paycheck. Most of those people get sidetracked into another religion. You listen to all these stars, they say they serve some type of satanic God worship. They into something else other than Jesus Christ. Because they blessed, they don't know what to do. They don't need God. They don't need to call up on him. They don't need him for provision. They don't need him for shelter. They don't need him for love. Well, you can't get love outside of God. You can get tricked and trapped outside of God. Well, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about in the cool of the day. The source of your blessing is when you fellowship God. It ain't how much you dance and shout and holler. It's not even how much you give your 10%. You should give your 10%. But that ain't your source. Your source is God. Your source is when you have time for God and you fellowship God. You let God be the most important thing in your life. It ain't your husband. It ain't your wife. It ain't your job. It ain't your education. It ain't your ministry. But your source is God. It's fellowship with God. It's when you have time for God. God have time for you. Jesus said, if you forsake me before this wicked and dirty generation, I will forsake you in the face of my Father. I deny you. Just like you deny me in this world with your blessing, your prosperity that I gave you. And you done took it. And you done turned against me. Paul said, be careful with all of you riches because they can lead you in trouble and to divers and harmful temptation. He said, be careful. You be blessed.